Welcome to Dear Asian Americans. I'm your host, Jerry Wan, and welcome to the Asian American Dreamer series brought to you by Toyota. As a proud sponsor of those who dare to dream, Toyota isn't just settling with having them as words on a page. The stories of these Asian Americans need to be seen, heard, and supported. As a title sponsor of this initiative, Toyota is going to ensure that this happens in every way possible. We hope these 10 stories will inspire you to chase your own Asian American dreams.
I was everything I was expected to be. But I wasn't me. Now, this is day one of me defying expectations and moving to my own beat.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Dear Asian Americans. We are continuing our series talking to Asian American dreamers, friends in the community, people that we look up to, people who've really shown us that there are different ways to fulfill our parents' dreams, of our own dreams, of what it means to make it in America. And we often talk about the American dream, which are stereotypical things, white picket fence, 2.5 dogs, whatever that means. But for us, it's a little bit different. And so what is the Asian American dream? We're hosting these conversations with the support of Toyota to help explore and to talk and to learn from people who've done just that. Today we're in Orange County with who I consider Mr. Orange County himself, who has a hand in just about any and every cool thing that happens in the community. Andy Nguyen, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
People see you online, they see you in the community. You do a lot of stuff. You are involved with restaurant concepts, you're involved with sports, with apparel. How would you describe what you do?
I guess I like to be called, because the entrepreneur word always sounds weird to me because it's like people are chasing money, and I think for myself it's I'm always pushing the boundaries and trying to better myself, continue going forward. So I guess I'm just pushing creative culture forward. That's what I'm trying to do.
And I think those two words that you just mentioned really epitomize what you do, right? You're creative. You create concepts, you make things better, you get people excited about the things that you do, and you have a pulse on the culture of not just Asian American culture, but culture broadly speaking, to intersect what people want, to tell people what they should want or to anticipate, and then to mix it with commerce and obviously starting businesses, which is really, really hard to do once, but you continue to do it. You're sitting in front of one of your businesses, Dough and Arrow. You're involved with Matt Black Coffee. Mm-hmm. You manage stuff for Brandon Lee, the undefeated boxer, and hopefully he's still undefeated whenever you're listening to this, because we hope that he never loses.
Yeah, ever.
The Hello Kitty cafes in Vegas. A lot of these different things. What did you want to do when you were young, and particularly, did your parents tell you what to be, what to do when you grew up?
Of course. Well, when I was a kid, I always had trouble focusing in the classroom. I was the poor Asian student. I had the worst grades. But in class, I always daydream and imagining myself as a superhero or a cartoon character that I was watching TV, and I'd be doodling and drawing it all day and just imagining myself in those qualities. And my parents, just like most Asian parents, wanted me to be like a doctor, a pharmacist, a lawyer. They wanted me to go through education, and I went the completely opposite route.
When did you know, or when did they know that those two things weren't gonna mix?
I think they were pushing it for a long time, even after I dropped out of college. I think when I first entered entrepreneurship back in 2004 or 5, I think they're still worried. And as I started starting my own clothing brand after that, they were still worried. I think it was up to maybe 8-9 years ago when they finally, okay, we get it now. And I think them seeing me on the Vietnamese newspapers or on the TV networks, made it a lot easier, and their friends were, congratulating them. So.
Isn't that funny that we often joke in the Korean community too, right? Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter if you're on CNN or Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
You're not anybody with anything unless you're in the Korea Times.
Exactly.
But I think it's also very poignant, right? Like, we need to be relevant in the publications and the worlds that are relevant to them.
Yep.
And helping them understand in their context. Again, like them having their friends call them out is obviously very important.
Of course.
We talk about this notion of parents defining dreams for us or having desires for us. A lot of our parents not having grown up here, language, culture differences. For us, for me and you as dads of little kids right now, we have to deal with that too. When did you know, and sort of, there's that conviction, I think, of you wanting or you knowing that this is what you want to do. And yet, I mean, even now, like I turned 40 this year, and I always think, that voice in your head, like, well, what's Amma gonna think, right? Or like, how do I explain this to them? Even though, we got our own kids to worry about, but you said it took your parents, many years for them to fully accept, like, okay, this is what Andy is good at, and like we don't have to worry about him. When did you know?
I think it took me a long time. I think right around the same time when they finally realized it. I think that's when I've been through. Everyone gets to see the highlights on social media of everything that I've done, but all the failures in between, it made me worry at times whether I was in real estate or apparel. I thought that was the only thing I was gonna do for the rest of my life. I was like, hey, if I fail at this, I'm done. I'm ruined. And as I had success jumping into my next industry, which was the restaurant industry, I think from there I knew. I was like, if I were ever to fail again and I lost everything, I know I'll figure it out.
But you haven't had to do a lot of that. A lot of things have worked. And one thing that you did on social media maybe a few months ago was like, I don't know how long you spent on it, because it seemed like it took you the whole day to create a series of Instagram stories that basically was a documentary of your journey. Do you often get a chance to do that and reflect on objectively what you've built and the things that you've impacted and people's lives that you've positively impacted through, jobs and economic opportunity?
I definitely don't have a lot of time to sit back and reflect, because everything is moving so quickly. Just as we spoke before this, like I'm like living on a plane, I'm flying here and there, I have kids to take care of at the same time. So when I do have a chance to sit down and reflect and focus, I'm like, wow, like look at the things I've accomplished so far, and to me, I still feel like my best work is still ahead of me.
What is ahead of you? What is the next chapter of the dream?
I think I'm always looking at, how can I disrupt a different industry? Do I want to continue doing what I'm doing now? Or what else is out there that I can go and shake things up, keep things fun and exciting? Because I feel like I'm going to continue doing work as long as it's going to be fun and different and a new challenge along the way that gives me that spark again.
And you've taken a lot of risk, in particular in the last couple years, as the world of cryptocurrency, NFTs have gotten big. You took a big risk, I would say, in purchasing a digital asset and then building an entire in real life restaurant experience around that. Right. And we'll still, we will see for a long horizon if that was a good bet, smart bet, or if people will point to that and say, hey, that was the first guy that did it this way, and now that's just the norm, which I personally think is going to be that way. But tell us about risk management in dreams, because I think when we think about, particularly from our parents' perspective, they risked so much to come here, and that all they wanted for us was safety,
of course,
and security. And that's why they tell us to go to med school and law school. Not because they want us to be actual doctors and lawyers, but it's what it symbolizes.
Of course.
Talk to us about your level and your viewpoint on risk management once you've made it, because at some point you were comfortable, but you took a big risk in both putting financial and reputation risk to chase something.
Yeah, I think these days, especially after I had kids, my level of risk has changed, right? I think I got a lot smarter, but I tell them, a lot of my friends before told me this, like, hey, when you have kids, they go, honestly, you're going to make more money than you've ever had in your entire life. And I'm like, how's that possible? I'm going to be doing less work. I'm not being able to focus. But you just naturally start making better decisions, right? Because now you're more mature. You got to make sure your kids survive. You're trying to take care of them for the rest of their lives. So I think as I started making more sound decisions, including thinking about them on the back of my mind, I just made better decisions going forward.
I think that's we don't often talk about decision making as a parent, particularly as a dad, right? And I think you and I spent plenty of time, maybe too much time on planes, and we were just talking before we started rolling about, we take red eyes because it maximizes our time with our kids. So if we lose a little sleep, so be it. As soon as we're done with the work in a different city, we take the next flight home. We don't have the luxury or the privilege of extending a trip or hanging out by the pool for whatever reason, right? And I think you're right. That is not we're just talking about time, of course, but it also sort of is a balance of what am I willing to give up? Because what people also know about you, for those of us who know you, is you're an extremely present and amazing dad. Like, you'll go from airport to Disneyland and you're there for all of your kids' stuff, right? And you obviously and we all are in such fortunate positions to be able to provide for our kids the things that we wish we had, to make it easier for them and their generation to pursue those dreams. Talk to us about that and sort of what, beyond obviously, providing for them in tangible ways, right? What are you doing, or not what are you doing? What are we doing for them collectively as our generation to make it easier for them to chase their own dreams?
I think for myself is I'm showing them the blueprint of like, hey, what's possible to actually live your dreams and decide what route you want to go. But I'm also providing a lot of access, right? Like, now they have access to most doors of places that people wouldn't be able to get into, and these are things that I put myself in the position for the past 20 years already. Right now, they can go through these doors, whether it's a contact that they need or a way to get to the higher ups, and that's also, me as a parent, I want to build for my child who is yellow to be able to get at a higher position than things that we didn't see 10, 15 years ago.
I think that's the one thing that we don't often talk about. When we talk about our parents' inability to understand the culture of American academics or American, corporate life, and they just wanted what's best for us. What we don't talk about is the level of access. Oftentimes when you meet friends who are not Asian, and particularly white folks in this country, a lot of it is like, oh, that was my friend's dad or my dad's friend. And we didn't have that, right? Because most of our parents were small business owners or not well connected in America. Right. And now we have this weird, I won't say burden, but also gift of like, we got a lot of people on our phones that can like make life so easy for our kids. And I often think about like, how easy do I want to make it for them? Because grit's cool. Grit's, a great lesson to have, but also, we often, I at least, I'm sure you do as well. Like, our kids becoming privileged or spoiled or entitled rather. Like, those are things that we often have to think about because we want them to learn the right way. How do you view that? And how are you checking yourself? Because our kids are too young to really understand all of this stuff. How do we raise, like, I don't know, thoughtful, hungry, gritty kids when we don't have to?
I think it's, just good education, being present, not handing them everything, but educating at the same time, teaching them financial literacy. My wife happens to be a school teacher in special ed, so her patience level and education level and guiding me at times on how to raise a child helps a lot too, right? So I'm definitely very fortunate. Just besides myself, I have my wife to help.
Shout out to both of our wives and all the partners out there who, for those of us who live on airplanes and do, we're here on a Saturday, by the way. So shout out to all of our partners and families who allow us to chase our own dreams and, make life fun.
Of course.
Looking back at your illustrious career, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of that I was able to open up a lot of doors for people who have worked or given their time into my work and trying to push my dream forward, right? And now they've been able to open opportunities and doors for themselves that not only affect their lives but everyone else around them.
Is there a story that you can share of somebody who?
Yeah. I have. When I had my clothing brand, I'm King. About 8-9 years ago now, a lot of the people that came through that door they own their own companies that do 8 figures a year. They work for huge companies. They're photographers for Nike and Adidas. They're running their own agencies, and these are it's crazy to look back and see that team, because people outside the industry are like, whoa, everyone under your team just went and blew up. I was like, yeah, we had a superstar squad together, but we were too young at the time to understand how to hone that talent. But once everyone went their own ways, we all kind of exploded on our own.
I think people see you on social media and you do a lot of cool things and you're affiliated and associated with, even cooler brands. They see you at places going to, VIP invite only stuff. And so they see that, but I don't think what they truly understand is like the word community and bringing other people along are, to me, like synonymous with Andy Nguyen, because you make friends very quickly. We became friends very quickly. You opened up, said, let me know whatever you need help with. And people say that, but you mean it. You've also demonstrated that by starting business ventures and partnerships with, guys like Philip and Kevin, who you met in a Facebook group,
Yep.
right? Less than 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
And now you guys are doing like crazy things, traveling around the world, working with, household names.
Yep.
How do you gauge trust? How do you gauge partnership and business partnership, which is, again, risk oriented,
Yep.
with people that you meet, on the internet or just in life?
I think I tell people I'm pretty open to working with most people, right? I'm like, hey, the door is open, but who's willing to step to the plate and actually follow through, right? And if you follow through and you're genuine, you work hard and you're doing what needs to be done, we're gonna have a great relationship. But if you don't pull through and it doesn't work out, you don't want to be in the other list.
Yeah, no, I think, but I think that's some things that we don't talk about, right?
Yeah.
Like in the community, we sometimes skirt around the issues of those interpersonal dynamics of, trust that comes too easily, or burning bridges, or, unfortunately, there's many who only see the short-sightedness of a transaction. So, they'll look at you and go, what can I get out of Andy?
Of course.
Instead of, I'm willing to give and lose a little, or at least just co-invest in something, so that we can, grow together. You've done a lot. You're going to do more. How do you want your kids to approach their own dream making?
I think whatever they pursue, as long as they pursue something with passion and that they figure out what their purpose is for it, I think that would make me happy. But at the end of the day, they gotta do what makes them happy, right? And I'll be their best supporter, whether they decide to go in my field or go in the field of education and through their route through education, or whatever they want to do. I'll make sure I'm still present and being the best dad possible for them.
And how do you think our parents, the kids' grandparents, see this transition? Because the world that we're living in now was completely unimaginable to them.
I think they've seen how many doors I've knocked down in the fields that I'm doing, and I think they see the world shifting, and they've warmed up to a lot over the years. And I guess even for my dad, like last year was the first time ever in my life that he told me he was proud of me, right? And I was in such shock, like I had no words. I still don't even know what to say whenever he said that.
What caused that?
I think just having kids, seeing where I'm at in my life with my work and family, and he's like, hey, you're doing it. Besides just work, you're a dad now with 2 kids that are great, and he loves them more and everything.
That's the most important thing. I think we, a lot of these stories that we're talking about, dreams and dreamers, we've focused on professional achievements, but I think really as 2 dads of young kids, my dream is to be able to provide not just financial means for support and safety for our kids, but the opportunity to show them that you can do whatever you want as children of immigrants and refugees in this country, that we can go in one generation from that to this, which is, again, doing things that were literally unimaginable, working with people that everybody else knows, and being in places and being invited into spaces that were once thought not for us, not for our type of people. And so continue changing culture and through creativity. Andy, I am so honored and blessed that you are joining us today, but more so to call you a friend. And I get tired looking at your Instagram. I'm sure other people can say the same thing about me, but I know you're also doing that while you're taking care of your kids and while being a great father and a husband and a son. And so thank you for what you do for your family, for us, the community, and keep changing the world, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. Honored to be here. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Asian American Dreamer series on Dear Asian Americans. We hope that this story and the other ones that we share in our series have inspired you to identify and chase your own Asian American dream. And Toyota will be along with you all the way to make sure that happens. We want to thank Toyota for sponsoring our series. And to learn more about the great work that they're doing in our community, visit toyotausa.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Jerry Nguyen, your host of Dear Asian Americans, wishing you health, safety, and happiness.